All right, Mr. Allison.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this is in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Michael Lee Allison, file number 22-20996FC. I have John Glaser appearing on behalf of Mr. Allison, and I have Douglas Hartung appearing on behalf of the people. This is the date and time set for pretrial. I had a note that we previously were waiting for an independent forensic. I don't know what's changed on that. So Mr. Glaser, where do we stand at this time?
Your Honor, I need, I talked to Mr. Hartung and I need to have a stipulation, and I think we'll enter it, that the person who's doing the independent will be provided with any documents that the forensic center used in coming to their opinion.
I have no objection to that. And upon presentation, if appropriately prepared, I'll sign that stipulation.
Okay, so Mr. Hartung said he has no objection as long.
I'll prepare the stip and send it over to. Could I speak with my client though, Your Honor?
Yeah, in a breakout room?
Yeah.
All right, so hold on. So you need a stip in order to provide documents. And then we're gonna need another pretrial date, right?
Right.
And how far out would you like to set that?
I don't know how long it's going to take, Your Honor. 30, 60
Well, do you want a month?
days. Yeah, at least
60
that.
days?
Yep.
So what about February 7, Mr. Hartung, at 8:30?
That's fine. Thank you.
All right, we'll set a pretrial for February 7 at 8:30 in the morning. And you can do the stip in order to adjourn and then prepare the stip in order for documentation.
Okay.
Okay? All right. Could I have 15 minutes?
Thank you, Judge.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms.
So I
Trammell.
have,
Thank you.
so I have a gentleman from the jail. Can I ask your name, please?
Nicole Allison.
Okay, and who's your prosecutor?
Mr. Hartung.
Yeah, I got Mr. Hartung. All right, so let me get his file. You ready? Okay.
Yeah.
So this is in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Michael Lee Allison, file number 22-20996FC. I have, let's see, 1, 6, and 8, 4. I have Douglas Hartung appearing on behalf of the people and John Glaser appearing on behalf of Mr. Allison. This is the date and time set for a pretrial. My last notes said we were waiting for an independent forensic. Have we received that yet?
No, Your Honor, actually, I've needed to prepare a stipulation order which slipped, and I just did it yesterday. And I've got it to Mr. Hartung. Is that okay with you, Doug, the stip I sent you?
The stip is okay. You can sign my name to it. I probably need to put on the record one little cautionary thought is that I think that stip says the records in the possession of the forensic center. I don't know what they have in their possession. They may no longer have in their possession what you're looking for, John. But if they don't, I'm happy to agree to a subsequent document. I think it's really important that we push this thing along. It's been a very, very long time, and we've struggled to get this independent done.
I was going to ask to adjourn it just 1 week and then get down there and talk to him.
If that works for the court, that's fine with me.
Well,
I don't want to do it.
I could do the 14th or the 21st.
21st is fine too, because I know that's a busy day for you, Judge, the 14th.
Yeah, well, the 21st, I only have 13. That's not including arraignments. So the 21st, Mr. Glaser?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so I will set this for another pretrial on February 21 at 8:30 a.m. Mr. Glaser, you can do the stip in order to adjourn. Mr. Hartung, can you sign it?
I have it.
Good. Can you sign your name with permission, Mr. Hartung?
He can sign my name to the stip to adjourn and also the other one.
I don't have a stip to adjourn. Excuse me. I got the other stip.
So Mr. Hartung said you could sign his name with permission. And then Mr. Glaser, obviously, if there's a resolution or if you want to set it for a day other than a Wednesday, it's always appreciated because our Wednesday docket's so full. Okay, all right,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Allison, you are all set, and
Signature on the share.
Mr. Allison, will you tell them I need to see Mr. Likens next?
I'd like to see Mr. Glaser when I get a chance as well, too.
Well, Mr. Glaser will have to come to the jail and meet with you.
I'm gonna come in person, maybe still this week, Thursday or Friday, tomorrow or Friday.
Thank you.
Mr. Glaser, how would you like to proceed? Are we all set with Mr. Allison, or do you need to go back on the record with him?
Your Honor, I don't know if we have another date set. At this point, I've got the order I need, and it's just a matter of getting my psychiatrist down there to do the independent. It'll usually be quicker than a forensic at the forensic center. So I'm guessing 90 days, and I'm still trying to resolve it. I don't think I'm going to be able to resolve it, but I'm going to go down. I told Mr. Allison, I knew I wanted to get down there last week, but I will get down there this afternoon. I've freed up this afternoon, and I got to see 3 individuals down there today. So I think we just
Mr.
need a pretrial date out like 90 days, maybe.
All right, Mr. Hartung.
So he's telling us it'll take roughly 90 days to get his independent psychological completed. And he's telling us it's unlikely the case will be resolved. Is there a reason we shouldn't set this for trial sometime down the road to get it on the court's calendar?
I don't care if we do that.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, we can. You better put it out a little ways though to make sure that independent gets done.
Well, it's gonna be July.
Yeah.
Well, I'm booked in July in the other court, as everyone knows, for about 3 weeks. So I'd be available in August or September.
That's
All
fine.
right. How many days, Mr. Hartung?
What do you think, John? A week?
I can't see it taking that long, but yeah, that's fine.
How about starting Monday, September 9th for 5 days?
That's a Monday, Your Honor.
Yep. 5 days, well, 5 days.
Your Honor, I lost you just for a minute there. I'm sorry. Well, what day are you looking at?
You're freezing, so I think maybe turn off
Yeah.
your video. I said Monday, September 9th for 5 days.
Okay.
So that would be a
I'll mark
9
it down.
AM start. Yep, Monday, September 9th at 9 AM for 5 days. And then, let's see. We do September 9. I would do a final pretrial on. I'm gonna do a final pretrial on September 4. No, let me see here. I don't know that I'm, September 9. I'm gonna say August 28th for a final pretrial, because I think I'll be here for that day. And that will be at 8:30 in the morning.
Judge, you might want to check the book. I thought I had you off that day.
Well, I know that the judgy thing. Yep. Yep. So why don't we do a final pretrial August 27 on a Tuesday? And the only reason I say that is this case has a lot involved in it, and that way it's not a Wednesday morning. So let's do the 27th at 8:30 in the morning. And we'll make sure we have like about 30 minutes on that. And then I'm going to make the deadline for voir dire questions and jury instructions August 21. and a motion deadline of August 27. And that should be everything I need on this. So anything else we need on the scheduling order, Mr. Glaser or Mr. Hartung?
No, Your Honor.
No, all set.
All
Thank
right.
you.
All right, so thank you, and we'll see you back on August 27. Unless you need to get in sooner, just let the court know. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. As I said, in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Michael Lee Allison. So Mr. Glaser, we had this matter set for a pre-trial bench conference today. Have you had enough time to speak with myself and Mr. Hartung?
Yes, I have. Your
All right, and have you had ample time to speak with your client?
Yes, sir.
All right, and how would your client like to proceed today?
Your Honor, I think there's going to be an amended complaint filed at some point that'll have a count of second degree murder. It's my understanding that my client would plead to second degree murder with, I don't know, was it a Cobbs or a killer?
Well, we can put on the record that there were discussions in back regarding potential sentences if he were to plead guilty to an added count 3 second degree murder. That is a life offense, is that correct?
That is correct.
That's correct.
But we ran the guidelines in back according to the law.
I'll go into that in great detail.
Yep, and we determined the guideline range would be 162 to 270 months. And there was a discussion that 20 years would be acceptable to all the parties. Is that correct? As a minimum sentence?
That's the agreement as I understand it, Your Honor, yes.
That is your.
Okay, all right. So, and Mr. Hartung, your office will amend the information
We will,
today.
we will do that.
Okay, all right. So, and as I said, the guidelines, we need Jen Walsh, and she's here. Hold on. I forgot.
Judge Paulette's getting somebody over.
Yeah, Miss Walsh is just logged on. I'm sorry. When it's not a Wednesday, I forget to call MDOC sometimes. Miss Walsh. Jennifer Walsh. I don't know. Miss Robinson and Mr. Tipton, I'm happy in the waiting room. Oh, there you go, Miss Walsh, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, this is in the matter of the people of the state of Michigan versus Michael Lee Allison, file number 22-20996 FC. The plea offer that has been made today would be that Mr. Allison would plead to an added count 3 second degree murder. And the guidelines were calculated to be 162 to 270 months. And his minimum term, basically Cobbs or Kilbird, whatever it might be, there's been a long, lengthy discussion this morning. His minimum sentence would be 20 years with Michigan Department of Corrections. All right.
Okay.
All right. So Mr. Allison, you want to raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
So I'm going to need you to speak up loudly, and if you think you can't, you can always stand at the podium too, okay? So can you state your full name for the record?
Michael Lee Allison.
Now, Mr. Allison, we've been here for almost an hour this morning, and you've had an opportunity to speak with your attorney. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you understand your attorney and the prosecutor and myself also met for about 40 minutes and back discussing this case. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And your attorney fully explained that to you?
Yes, Your Honor.
And he's explained the plea offer to you,
Sure.
the ramifications? Are you satisfied with Mr. Glaser as your attorney and the advice that he's given you?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so you've heard the statement. Did I swear him in, Miss Mayor? Yes, I did.
Your Honor, before we get, there should be another part of that. We didn't talk about that. We don't, I guess we'd want an agreement that the top end would not be life, that the top end would be a term.
Term of years.
well.
We didn't agree to that.
I know we did, but otherwise it makes no sense.
Take a break.
'Cause
Okay, so, Mr. Ellison can have a seat over there if you want. Mr. Hartung and Mr. Glaser, can you approach? Mr. Glaser, before we took a break, you had talked about the sentence being life or a term of years. So where do we stand on that conversation?
I think we've been in agreement that the high end would be a term of years, and I realize it could be 150, 200 years, you can put it whatever you want. But the reason is, Your Honor, we don't think on a life, we don't parole the same as a term of years on both ends.
Mr. Hartung, any position whether I sentence him to the minimum to life or a minimum to whatever term of years I choose?
Sorry about the maximum.
I mean,
I understand what you're saying. So we took a break, the record just so that we had a discussion with people who are here on behalf of the victims, and they understand this now, and we are in agreement that the 20 can be to a number, whatever the number that the judge determines at that point in time, that would be adequate for everybody and acceptable to everybody.
Mr. Glaser?
That's fine.
Okay, and Mr. Ellison, do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so, Mr. Ellison, do you fully understand the plea offer?
I do, Your Honor.
You understand the potential sentence?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and you've heard both the statement Mr. Hartung and your attorney made on the record.
Yes, Your Honor.
Is it your intention then to plead to an added count 3? It's second degree homicide is the statute, or
He's pleading to murder in the second degree, or homicide in the second degree.
homicide in the second degree? So is it your intention to plead guilty to that offense?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, and you understand the maximum penalty for this offense could be life or it could be a term of years. There's an agreement, it'll be a term of years, but that's up to me at the end of the day. So your minimum sentence will be 20 years and your maximum sentence could be 40 years, 80 years, 100, whatever it might be. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And do you understand that other than that, other than that, neither the prosecutor, the defendant, nor anyone on the defendant's behalf has discussed any possible sentence other than that conversation with the court. Correct, Mr. Hartung?
That's correct.
Mr. Glaser?
That's correct. Your Honor.
Is that correct as far as you're aware, Mr. Allison? Okay. If a guilty plea is accepted, there will be no trial. This means that you will be giving up rights you would have had at trial. I'm going to explain those rights to you now to make sure that you understand them. You have a right to a speedy public trial by jury. You may ask for a non-jury trial, and if the prosecutor and court agree, you can have a non-jury trial. You have the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. You have the right to have the prosecuting attorney prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you are guilty and you do not have to prove anything. You have the right to be present at trial and have witnesses against you appear at your trial and to ask those witnesses questions. You have the right to have the court order any witnesses you have for your defense to appear at the trial. You have the right to remain silent during your trial, not to have your silence used against you. However, you also have the right to testify at your trial if you want to testify. Do you understand that if your plea is accepted, you may be giving up the right to appeal issues that would otherwise be appealable if you were convicted at trial? Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand that any appeal from the conviction and sentence pursuant to the plea will be by application for leave to appeal and not by right? Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
If you are not a citizen of the United States of America, a conviction of a crime may result in deportation, exclusion from admission to the United States of America, or denial of naturalization. Do you have any questions about the rights that I've given to you?
No, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Allison, how do you wish to plead to the charge that on or about July 4 of 2022 in Raisin Township in the county of Lenawee that you did commit the offense of homicide second degree?
Okay, Your Honor. Guilty.
Okay. Has anyone made any threats or promises to you to induce you to plead guilty to this charge other than the agreement placed on the record?
No, Your Honor.
Do you understand if I accept this plea, you will be giving up any and all claims that your plea is given as a result of threats or promises that were not disclosed to the court on the record during this hearing, or that it was not your own choice to enter the plea? Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the prosecutor or defense counsel aware of any promises or threats or inducements other than the plea bargain to induce the defendant to plead guilty? Mr. Hartung?
None, Your Honor.
Mr. Glaser?
No, Your Honor.
Has your attorney promised you any particular sentence or estimated what your sentence will be outside of what we placed on the record already?
No, Your Honor.
Is it your own choice to plead guilty?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So, Mr. Ellison, on July 4th of 2022, were you in Raisin Township in the county of Lenawee?
Yes, Your Honor.
And was that at your house?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And at that time, did you have a gun in your possession?
Yes.
And did you shoot Nicole Marie Allison 2 times?
Yes, Your Honor.
Was it in her back?
No, Your Honor.
Where did you shoot her?
In her right buttock and her left chest.
Okay. And did she die from those wounds?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Hartung, any further questions or?
No, I'm satisfied. Thank you, Your
All
Honor.
right. Has the court complied with the MCR 6.302 B, C, and D? Mr. Hartung?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Glaser?
Yes, Your Honor, but I would like to go over some things with my client before you accept it. Please.
Okay, go ahead.
Not to do that now. Mr. Allison, I want to put some things on the record that we discussed, just so that it's made a part of the record, okay?
Yes.
You and I had a chance to discuss the plea offer here today, is that correct?
Yes.
And I told you basically what the plea was going to be. And if you didn't want to do that, that we would leave it set for trial. And the matter is set for trial, I think it's September, October, if I'm not mistaken. September. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
And you still want to go ahead and take this plea, is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Now, I've indicated to you that the judge, I, and the prosecutor had a lengthy discussion, about half hour, 45 minutes back in chambers before I came to talk to you. Is that correct?
Yes.
And I told you that all 3 of us were in agreement that the sentence guidelines in these matters would be 162 months to 270 months. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And when we're talking about the minimum sentence, that's a sentence always has a minimum and a maximum. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And we're agreeing that your minimum will be 20 years and that your maximum will be a term of years, but it will not be life. It will be, it could be 150 if the judge wanted to do that. You understand?
Yes, I do.
Your biggest concern is the minimum, because that's when you become eligible for parole.
Yes.
And we didn't want it as a life offense because it's my opinion that life offenses they do parole out second degree life once in a while, but it's not that likely. You understand?
Yes, I do.
So that's why we're asking for a term of years on both ends. You understand that?
I do.
Is there, and again, I have told you that the guidelines were 13 and a half to 22 and a half, but our discussion with the judge was that this was not going to be a minimum sentence, that would probably be closer to the higher end of the guidelines. You understand that?
I do.
And the other thing that you considered in this matter was there's a felony firearm, which would add an additional 2 years that is being dismissed. You understand that?
I do.
And those 2 years wouldn't have ran concurrent. They would run at the end of your sentence on the second degree murder, the first degree murder, or the second degree murder.
John, let me interrupt you. They would have run first.
They run first?
They run first.
Boy, I always thought they were
Because you have to have a parolable offense to come out of.
Oh, okay. Learn something new every day, but it still would not, they would not be living together. It'd be consecutive. You understand that?
Yes.
Do you have any questions about what's going on?
You're not.
And you're sure this is what you want to do?
Yes,
You've had enough time to think this over and discuss the matter with me?
I have.
I don't have any other questions, Joe.
Mr. Hartung?
I have no question. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, I accept, I believe I already asked that, whether I've complied with MCR 6.302 B, C, and D. So I accept the plea. I know I asked that. So I accept the plea. It has been given understandably, voluntarily, and accurately. The defendant has full knowledge of his rights and he does have competent counsel. Other than the minimum of 20 years to a term of years at my discretion, this court has made no agreement regarding the possibility of a plea or possible sentence in this case with the prosecutor, the defense attorney, the defendant, or anyone acting in the interest of either of them. I'm going to refer this matter to the probation department for a pre-sentence investigation. Ms. Adams, could I ask, are there a lot of sentencings on May 30th?
Judge, there is 3 and drug court.
So do we know if someone's going to speak at
I'm
sentence?
sure someone will, at least one person.
Okay, so I would say, Ms. Adams, I'll set it on that date, but we probably don't want to set any more, so we have time for that. All right, so I'm going to set this for sentencing on May 30th at 8:15 in the morning. Are you available that day, Mr. Glaser?
I'm always available.
And Mr. Hartung?
So yes, thank you.
Okay, and in person then?
Yes,
Okay, so we'll set it in person. All right, Mr. Allison, someone from the Michigan Department of Corrections come over to the jail. They'll come over there to speak with you. I'll have a packet to fill out, and then they'll meet with you. Be truthful with them about your background and the events that occurred. And then they'll prepare a pre-sentence report. We'll provide a copy to your attorney. He'll review that with you, and we'll be back here on May 30th at 8:15 in the morning, okay?
Thank you, Your
All
Honor.
right, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Victim impact statements will be mailed out and provide those back to our probation department or the prosecutor's office, all right?
We'll talk about it and we'll get them back early as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is in the matter of people of the state of Michigan versus Michael Lee Allison, file number 2022-20996 FC. I have John Glaser appearing on behalf of Mr. Allison. And I have Douglas Hartung appearing on behalf of the people. I also have Jennifer Walsh from the Michigan Department of Corrections who prepared the pre-sentence report. She's seated at council table with Mr. Hartung. So, Mr. Glaser, you received a copy of the pre-sentence report.
yes, I did, Your Honor.
And Mr. Allison, you are Michael Lee Allison.
I am, Your Honor.
So, Mr. Allison, you had an opportunity to read and review the pre-sentence report.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you had an opportunity to discuss that with Mr. Glaser?
Yes, I have.
Are you satisfied with Mr. Glaser as your attorney and the advice that he has given you?
I am.
Okay. Mr. Hartung, do you wish to explain or challenge the accuracy or relevancy of any information in the pre-sentence report?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Glaser?
Your Honor, in the report itself, Mr. Allison said he probably had some things that were wrong, but nothing significant enough for him to bring up here in court. He didn't remember what it was.
So it's important to the court that the pre-sentence report is correct. So if you want to address those, Mr. Allison, you can.
Your Honor, before we go to that, there is something else I wanted to object to.
Is it within the information in the pre-sentence report?
I think it's attached. Yes, I'm not sure.
Okay, which there are quite a few attachments. So which one are you referencing?
Your Honor, there appears to be, it's not an attachment, but I received a copy of a letter from Jenny Gardner, dated Denting, it says, but I think it's dated May 20th, 2024 to Judge Anzalone.
All right, hold on one second. I do show, and I forgot to add, I know that I have quite a few sentencings today that are very difficult and very important to the people that are attending court, victims, defendants, whoever might be. So what I will remind everybody is that there is an expectation of decorum in the courtroom. And if you feel that you might make an outburst or something of that nature, I would just ask that you leave the courtroom because we can't disrupt our record for purposes of review. So there is a letter that has been attached, it's dated, it says, well, I don't see a date on it. I have a typed document from this one. And it at the top says on July 4 of 2022 on page 1.
Yes, but at the back page it's dated May 30th. She said it's not dated.
It is on the Pretrial.
Okay, and it's by Jenny Gardner. So what is your objection to that document?
Your Honor, first of all, I'm not sure, this didn't come on the usual victims' rights form. This appears to be something that Ms. Gardner, somebody typed up on her behalf.
It looks like this was a letter written by his ex-wife.
It's not an ex-wife, Your Honor, we're gonna go over that in just a second. This is a relationship he had, and they have some children together. And this was back in 2012, was the last time they had a relationship. He disagrees with almost everything that's stated in that letter.
Okay.
Can I address it, Your Honor, briefly?
Well, before we do that, I'd like to address something else. So Mr. Hartung, this is a letter that was provided by the mother of his children who is not involved in this case. So under the victim statute, I don't know that this is admissible.
I don't have an objection to the court not continuing to attach that particular letter to this PSI report.
Okay, so I will set that letter aside and it will not be attached or considered for purposes of sentencing.
All right. The next thing we wanted to address is kind of related to this letter. There was a letter, I think, sent by Your Honor to me asking if the two minor children he has with this individual could be present in court.
Yep, so let me clarify that. There was an email from Mr. Hartung dated May 28th of 2024.
Yeah, I got it.
Yep, indicating that Ms. Gardner has requested that her two minor daughters be allowed to be present in the courtroom for Mr. Allison's sentencing. There are two minor daughters, age 15 and age 13. It's my understanding, or I've been advised, that the 13-year-old is not present today, but the 15-year-old is. And Mr. Hartung, I did receive information that Mr. Allison was objecting to his daughters not being present today, but the 13-year-old is not present.
Okay, I misspoke. We received a phone call from your office indicating that you were inclined to let that minor child be present. Is what we're objecting to. And if I could state my reason.
Yes.
If
You didn't receive a phone call from me, you received a call from my staff,
somebody in
correct?
your office.
Okay,
Yep.
yes.
And Your Honor, this is, and it's really not a whole lot to do with this sentencing. But my client loves his children dearly. He doesn't think that his minor children, he don't think any of his children, one's an adult, should be present for his sentencing. It's a traumatic situation for him as well as them. If you look at the letter that you didn't allow to be attached, it says
Well, I don't want it read into the record if I'm not allowing it to be a part of the record.
All right. Well, if you look at the, you can look at it yourself, Your Honor. It's a very vindictive letter, and he thinks this is nothing more than his ex-girlfriend, the mother of these children, trying to dig at him and upset him, and it's not good for the minors involved. He just doesn't think that's proper for that to occur.
Mr. Hartung, response?
Unusual, granted. The conversations I had with Ms. Gardner reflected that the minor children met with counselors. Counselors were supportive of this idea, given all the things that had happened in the family's relationship over the years. I don't have an objection to it. The court indicated that they would allow it to occur. Again, the situation is such that this is being live streamed. It could be watched right now at home. Whether she's in person or whether she's watching it on her laptop is not much difference. And certainly it would be available the next day to watch anyway, Your Honor.
So, so Mr. Glaser and Mr. Hartung, we do typically have had in the past policies about young minor children testifying in family law cases or being present in the courtroom on family law cases. We've never really, I think there was a sentencing down the hall where the minor children were present too. You know, I found no law that indicates that he has a right to determine who is present or not. You know, at this point, he obviously does not have custody of those children. 13-year-old is not present. but my understanding somewhere here is the 15-year-old. And I think at this point, there's nothing barring her from being present, so I'll allow her to remain. All right. And as Mr. Hartung stated, it's streamed, so she could obviously watch it as well. All right, anything else?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Mr. Allison or Mr.
Oh, I don't know. Did you find?
Oh, yeah, so Mr. Allison, was there anything in there you wanted to make changes on?
No, I'm satisfied, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you wish, Mr. Glaser, does the pre-sentence report disclose any prior convictions in which there exists any known constitutional guideline or defect? I show you as one prior felony and one prior misdemeanor.
Yeah, and they're not scored under the guidelines, I don't believe, but yeah, no, we agree here with those convictions.
Okay, the probation department has computed, let me find it here, the sentencing guidelines to be 162 to 270 months. Mr. Hartung, do you agree with that computation of guidelines?
We do, Your Honor. Mr. Glaser and I determined those with your cooperation and participation.
All right, Mr. Glaser.
Just wanted, yeah, yeah, that's what, we had a big, long discussion back in chambers, in fact, made it a part of the record. Prior to my take it with you.
Okay, before the court passes sentence, Mr. Hartung, I believe we have someone who wishes to speak today.
There are one or two people that would like to speak.
Okay. So I want you to step up to the podium. And you're gonna speak into the mic, and I need you to look at me, okay? So you're addressing the court, so I want you to focus on looking at me and reading your letter, okay? All right, can you, and you need to speak loudly because we are recording, okay? Can you state your full name for the record, please?
Yeah, it's Barbara Atkins,
Spell your last name?
A-D as in David, K-I-N-S.
Okay, and I need you to speak a little bit louder. I appreciate it, and you may begin.
All right. I've waited for this day for almost 2 years. It's hard to describe the mix of emotions I'm feeling now that it's actually here. I'm happy to know that you will finally be going to prison where you belong. I'm angry that it took you getting a plea deal because you don't ever deserve to see the light of day again. What you do deserve is to rot away in a cell for the rest of your miserable, unremorseful, disgusting life. I'm sad because my dad didn't live long enough to see this day happen. You won't let us use the word life in your sentencing because you couldn't stand to hear that word. Well, that is exactly what you should be doing. You took my sister's life because she told you she no longer wanted to be with you. That's pathetic. She got sick of being controlled by you, and she decided she wanted to have a life. That made you so angry that you beat the crap out of her in front of her 3 children. At the time were 3, 5, and 7. When she got away from you beating her, she ran out the door, you grabbed your gun, and told the oldest to call 911. You knew exactly what you were gonna do. Proceeded to chase her down like an animal and shoot her twice, once in the butt, your words. And then either she turned over or you turned her over. Either way, she had to have been looking at you and begging for her life, and you shot her in the heart while she was laying in the ditch in her front yard of her home. You took my sister's life and then thought you should get manslaughter. Again, pathetic. Now my nephews have to grow up without their mom. Myself and my 3 other sisters have lost their baby sister. My stepmom had to bury another child. And you killed my dad of a broken heart because he never fully recovered after she was murdered in cold blood. So I'm begging you to give this so-called man the maximum sentence possible.
Thank you. You're gonna come right up to the podium. And then remember, you have to address me, so you have to look at me, okay? And I need you to speak loud enough that it'll pick up on the recording.
Okay,
So can you state your full name for the record?
Chelsea Mathis,
Okay, can you spell your last name?
Mathis.
Thank you. All right, go ahead.
Imagine getting a phone call on the 4th of July that one of your closest family members was shot and killed. Now imagine also hearing that the person who did it was their spouse, and they did it in front of their children. Nicole was my best friend. We grew up together. 4th of July was on our favorite holiday, one of our favorite holidays, but not anymore. Each year that has passed since he killed her has been the hardest and darkest times of my life. So much so that I do not even celebrate it anymore. I mean, I don't know how anybody could. I could sit here and explain in details the way this traumatic loss has impacted me and my family. I've been in therapy, including EMDR and trauma therapy, but this isn't about me. This is about Nicole and how Michael came into our family and ripped it apart, leaving us to put back the pieces, even though it feels irreparable. Nicole's dream was to be a mother. She was always talking about wanting to have kids, celebrating holidays with them, taking them to sports and attending games, but she no longer has the chance to do that. She left behind her 3 amazing, smart, funny, and kind boys who have had to deal with the unimaginable loss of not having their mother to read to them, have movie nights, or to tuck them in bed ever again. Michael took that opportunity away from their children. Accident or not, Nicole did not deserve to have her life taken away, no matter the circumstances. Max, Wyatt, and Connor deserve a voice in this horrific situation, and I am here on behalf of them to say that Michael Allison not only took Nicole's life from her, but he took theirs too. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hartung, do we have anybody else that wishes to speak?
That is it, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Hartung, is there anything you'd like to say on behalf of the people?
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I would prefer to defer my comments, which will be very brief, in case there's some allocution that I'd like to address.
Okay, so Mr. Hartung, Mr. Glaser, and Mr. Allison, can you step up to the podium, please? Mr. Glaser, is there anything you'd like to say on behalf of your client before the court passes?
Just very briefly, Your Honor. This is a situation that should never have happened. My client is remorseful despite what anybody else might think. It was a situation where he was enraged, got out of control, and the result was this, and it's not a good situation. He was very sorry for his children. He wanted to raise them through adulthood and perhaps meet grandchildren and things of that sort. He's not going to be able to do anything of that. He knows if the court follows the recommendation of what we had as a Killabrew at Cobb's plate, that he's going to spend a good portion, if not all of his adult life in prison. And he feels sorry for family members that he can't be around because of that. And he does regret what happened. Anything you want to say, Mr. Allison?
I want to address the family and say how apologetic I really am. I don't know. I mean, there's none that can ever repay what happened. I just, I have another side. I have my side of the family that has been reaching out that have nothing to do with what happened. That I do believe the boys should be able to know and conversate with, as well as their sisters. They have quite a few of them. I love Nicole. I love them so much. I love Linda and Rob. They were always there. We were just looking at property in Kentucky. This come out of nowhere. I am sorry.
Mr. Hartung?
No, it's really easy to say there, John. It's really easy to say you're remorseful after the fact, but the problem I think that's exemplified in this case is there's no thought for the consequences of the action you took. Your lack of control on your own temper, your mean-spirited, selfish, vindictive decision to do what you did at the time that this happened. And look what has happened to you. You have 3 young children that you aren't going to be able to raise because of how you acted on this day. You have 3 older children who wanted to be here today, and 2 of them are. And you're not going to be able to have contact with them moving forward. Rob, in all likelihood, died way prematurely because of what you did. His heart was broken. And Linda couldn't even appear here today because there's just been too much of a strain and stress on her from what happened. It's tragic and sad, and all because you couldn't control your emotions at the time that this happened. Thank you.
In determining the appropriate sentence in this case, and Mr. Hartung and Mr. Glaser, just for clarification, there was a Killebrew agreement regarding the sentencing, correct?
For the bottom end.
Okay. In determining the appropriate sentence in this case, the court has considered the seriousness of the offense, your history, the principle of proportionality, the statutory penalty, the cost of confinement, the sentencing guidelines, the report and recommendation of the probation department, as well as what has been said upon the record at this hearing. The criteria and reasons for the sentence are the nature and gravity of the offense, the discipline appropriate to its commission, deterrence against repetition by you and by others, the potential for reformation, vindication for the law and the protection of society. Mr. Allison, you destroyed a lot of people's lives that day. When you have anyone, and it happens so often in our community now on a yearly basis, where men shoot women and kill women. You shot her like an animal in the street, on the property, in front of your children. You destroyed their lives, your daughter's lives, the family's lives, in that one moment because you felt you had the right to shoot her. We wonder why women are choosing the bear in all these videos now, because people like you make women not safe in this world. There is a Killebrew agreement that you will be sentenced to a minimum of 20 years. That was struck by your attorney and the prosecuting attorney. Understand, but for that, you would have never gotten out of prison. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So it's sentence of the court that you will serve a period of 20 years to 50 years with the Michigan Department of Corrections. We'll give you credit for 697 days already served. During that term of probation, you will have no contact with the victim's family. You must pay a crime victim assessment fee in the amount of $130 as ordered by the court, $60 DNA fee, and $68 in state costs. Anything else you want added to that, Mr. Hartung?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Walsh?
Judge, I just got notice from the victims unit. They are asking for $5,000 in restitution for the expenses of the funeral that they paid for.
Okay, so do they have documentation of that? Do you have that documentation? Could you show that to Mr. Hartung? You would have to pay that as a term of parole.
John.
So I have no. You understand what I'm saying? Right. No,
We don't object to that, Your Honor. My client just wants the court to know that there's been plenty of money provided to this family through a bank account. How much was it?
it's 42,000.
There's some more that's gonna come in probate, and he's allowed them to take over the house, which is proper, but he's not gonna make an objection of the.
Who's that payable to?
State of Michigan, right? State of Michigan, right? You know, yeah.
The funeral bill is paid through the state of Michigan.
Okay,
State of Michigan.
is it through a crime victims?
Crime victims unit paid.
Okay.
My client wasn't aware of that, Your Honor.
Okay,
So he has no objection.
all right, and I will order $5,000 in restitution paid to the Crime Victim Rights Unit through the state of Michigan for the cost of burial. Anything else, Ms. Walsh? Okay. Now, Mr. Allison, you do have the right to appeal this sentence. My bailiff's gonna hand down to your notice of right to appellate review. Your initial and date, one copy today is May 30th of 2024. The other copies are for you, and if you wish to appeal your sentence, you would fill out the information on the form and mail it to the address listed on the form within 42 days. All right. Record should reflect, I received back a signed copy of the notice of right to appellate review. Thank you, everyone, and Mr. Allison.